Hi and welcome to another interesting tutorial. My name is OJ. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, please do well to like and subscribe. Today we are going to be recreating this beautiful dress. We'll do the pattern drafting. My next tutorial will do the sewing part. Please watch and don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy! So guys, we'll be starting with the front panel and I'm just going to come down for my guideline here. This will serve as the shoulder line. Mark the neck width. I'll make use of 3 inches for the neck width. Shoulder divided by 2 plus half inch to join it to my sleeve is 8 inches. Then I'll come down for the vertical measurement. Shoulder to chest is 8.5. Shoulder to bust is 10. Shoulder to under bust is 14. Shoulder to waist half length is 16.5. Then shoulder to hip, I'm going to cut this alongside the short skirt part, right? So shoulder to my hip is 24 inches, which is here. Then the length I want the Ankara to stop before the pleat is going to be 31.5 inches, right? So it's 1.5 inches. I've already add half inch for the down part. So when I cut the waist area out, I'm going to add half inch on both sides to join them together. I hope that is clear. So I'll make this to a straight line. This will serve as our chest line. So this is our chest line. This is the bust line. This is the under bust line. This is the waistline. This is the hip line. And this is the hem line. Hope that is clear. So these are all the lines for the vertical measurements, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is to indicate my armhole depth here, right? So I'm just going to square this area here. Then I'll come down. I'll be coming down 1 inch for my slope. So I'll make use of 1 inch for the slope. Then I'll go up half inch for the shoulder seam allowance. I'll connect it to the neck width. Then also from the neck width, I'll go up half inch, connect it. So this will serve as the shoulder seam allowance. Hope that is clear. Then I'll mark from the slope to my chest what is left. I'll mark the midpoint of it. Then from there, I'll be coming in half inch. And I'll be connecting this as my I make use of 3.5 inches for the neck depth, right? Then I connect it to the neck width. So that nipple to nipple divided by 2, which is 3.75. I'll mark it here. So I'll be connecting it from the waist. I'm going to come down 5 inches. From the waist, I'll be coming down 5 inches, which is here. Then I'll be connecting this straight from, that's my nipple to nipple measurement that I have on the waist here. I'll connect it to the bust line and to these 5 inches that we have. So this is what we have. So the dart intake, now I'm going to take in from my darts. So at the waist here, I'm going to take in 1.5 inches. That is, I'm sharing it on both sides, 1.5 inches. So that will give us 0.75 on both sides. Hope that is clear. So I'll connect it to this 5 inches this way. So this will be the skirt dart, right? Hope that is clear. Then I'll come to the up here. At the under bust here, I'm going to mark the 0.752 on this side, so it will be equal with the waist. Then I'm going to go at 1.25 and the total measurement of 2 inches. That intake, that's what I'm taking from the under bust. So that is clear. So I'll connect this way. So I'll be using my curve ruler to connect it to the under bust. This slope here, I'll be marking the midpoint of my slope to the neck width. I'll mark the midpoint. I'll use a straight ruler to connect it to the dart at my bust this way. I'll place my tape rule from the bust to my under bust. Whatever thing I have, I'm going to remove half inches away from that. So here I have 4 inches. So if I remove half inch away from that, that's give me 3.5 inches. So I'm going to mark it here this way. So this will serve as the base for my armhole princess dart, right? So I'll connect it this way. So this is where we're going to connect our princess dart to. Hope that is clear. Now I'm going to mark first. I will mark the bust circumference divided by 4 on this chest area here, which is 9.25. So just measure your bust circumference divided by 4, mark it here. I'll come to the waist. The waist circumference divided by 4 is 7.75. Measure yours and mark it there. The dirty take that we make use of here is 1.5, but I'm going to replace with just 1 inch. So I'll mark it here this way. I'll come to the hip. The hip circumference divided by 4 is 10.25. I'll mark it here this way. Whatever thing I have on this hip here, I'm going to remove 1 inch away from that. Then I'll place it here. That is, here I have 10.25. Here I'm going to have 9.25. So I'll mark it here this way. So I'm going to use a straight ruler to connect these points. So I'll first connect it to the original line this way. Then I'll connect this straight up this way, right? So remember the dart that we replace here. So I'm going to connect this dart back. So this is just to understand the measurements that I have here. So I'll connect this back to the hip this way. So this is for our darts that we have replaced back. So if you want, you can make use of the 1.5 inches. You can replace it exactly here, right? But for me, I only replaced with 1 inch. So half inch is just going to snatch my waist area. Hope that is clear. So this is what we have for now. So the next thing I'm going to do at this side here on my bust, I'm going to come down 1.5 inches. This 1.5 inches is going to serve for the back. It's going to serve for the side dart to contour the bust area, right? So whatever thing I come down here is what I'm going to use to shorten the back panel. Hope that is clear. You should get used to this by now, because this is actually makes your garment fitted. Hope that is clear. So having done all of this, the next thing I'm going to do is to come to this area here. I'm going to close this dart, right? I'll close this dart here. Then I'm going to slash this place open. The essence of doing this is just to contour the bust area so that everything fall in place. Hope that is clear. So now I will be closing this up. So this is what I have after opening it up. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure what I have here. So I'll measure it. Here I have 2.25. So I'm going to share that into 4 places. So I'll just fold my tape rule this way. Then I'll fold again this way. So here I have half inch. Not up to the half, but just a half inch. So I'm going to place it here this way. Then I'll replace it back this way. So here I'm going to close this up. So I'm just going to replace it back here. So I'll be connecting this straight to the dart apex this way. Hope this is clear. So after doing this now, I'm just going to open this up. And here I will have this line here. So I'm going to cut this line open. Careful so you don't cut it through. I will be closing this up. I will use my step tape to close this up, right? Or if you have gum, you can use your gum to close it up, because we are closing it totally. So I'm just going to use my gum to close it. That means we have transferred whatever excess that we will have on this area here. We've transferred it to the side here. Hope that is clear. This line back. So this will serve as our new armhole now. So this one is no longer needed. Hope that is clear. So this is the one we are now using. Then you just have to check for your measurement here to be sure that your measurement is still in place. by the time I cut this out, I'll be closing this back. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark for my size seam allowance. So I will just add my size seam allowance here, 1.5 inches. I'll come to the waist too, I'll mark 1.5 inches. I'll come to the hip area, I'll mark 1.5 inches. I'll also mark it at the hem area too, 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to connect the lines. Connecting my dart apex here to this mark that we have here to have our princess dart, right? So I'll just place my curve ruler this way and I'll connect it this way. So I'm going to cut this out. So first I'll cut the waist area. So I'll be using this to cut for the down part before the pleats, right? So I'll keep this aside. Then for this, I'm just going to cut this dart area first. Then I'll be closing the dart. So by the time you close the dart, you have some shortage here. You replace it back. You just connect it back this way. Then you cut. So as for the keyhole, I'm not going to cut this yet, but I'm just going to indicate what I will do on my fabric, right? So remember, we have come down for the neck depth 3.5 inches. So what is remaining on that point from the neck to the keyhole, it should be like 1 inch or thereabout. So I'm just going to measure down 1.25. So by the time I use quarter of an inch here, quarter of an inch here, what will remain here is 0.75, right? And that's fine. Then from there, the key opening, I'm going to make use of 2 inches. Then I'll mark the midpoint of it, which is 1 inch. Then on this midpoint, I'm just going to go in ½ inch this way, or 0.6 this way. Then I'll just connect it this way. Hope this is clear. So this is what I'm going to cut as the key opening, right? But I'm not going to cut it on this pattern. When I've cut it on my fabric, I'll cut it alongside with my lining. Hope that is clear. So here is my pattern for the front. So by the time we sew this back, this is what we will have. Then hold my dart here. We will have this back together this way. Hope that is clear. So by the time I sew my dart here, we'll have this back together. So this is all for the front. So I'm going to cut for the back. So I'll be using this for the back, and I'll come down for my guideline. This is the shoulder line. Then I'll also indicate the zip seam allowance here. Shoulder to chest is 8.5. Shoulder to bust is 10 inches. Shoulder to waist minus the side dart intake that we've already used for the front at 15 inches here. Remember, for the front, the half length we make use of 16.5. So if I remove 1.5 inches away from that, it give us 15 inches. So I'm going to measure down for my waist to my hip is 8 inches. I'll mark it here. Then to the length, that's what I have here. So another thing again you can do is to bring out for the front, just bring it this way, place it this way, right? And be sure that you have the same length. Indicate my hip here. So I'll remove this. I'll be connecting the lines. So this is our chest line. This is our bust line. This is the waist line. This is the hip line. And this is the hem line. At this waist here, I'm going to remove 1/2 inch away from this, from the zip seam allowance. I'll replace it back from this zip. I'll measure the 1/2 inch this way. I'll be connecting this to the hip, and I'll connect this up this way. So this is just to make the back relax, right? So this is going off, and this will become our 1.5 inches zip seam allowance back, right? So the zip is going to be curved this way. Our back measurement is starting from this area here, this guideline here. I'm going to mark the neck width the same way we use for the front, 3 inches. Shoulder divided by 2 plus 1/2 inch, 8 inches. I'll mark it here. Then I'll square this line this way. Then I'll come down from my slope of 1 inch, go up 1/2 inch as the shoulder seam allowance. Then I will indicate the midpoint here, come in 1/2 inch. Then I'll be making my armhole curve here this way. Neck depth for the back is going to be 0.75. I'll connect it to the neck width this way. Then connect it into the zip this way. Hope that is clear. So now, the dart intake for the back, I'm going to, on the waist here, I'm going to make use of 1.5 inches too, but I'm going to replace with 1 inch. Hope that is clear. So I'll mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. From the waist, I'm going to measure down 6 inches. Remember, for the front we measure down 5 inches, but for the back we'll make use of 6 inches. So I'll connect this to the chest. Remember, for the front we connect it to the bust, but this time I'll connect it to the chest, so, and to the 6 inches here. Hope that is clear. So I'm going to sew normal dart. I'm not connecting this to shoulder or to princess dart, to the armhole. I'm going to sew normal dart. Hope that is clear. So now I'll connect this up this way. It's a straight ruler. Connect these two up. And I'll connect these two down this way. Connect this down this way. So this is for my dart. So now on my chest here, I will mark my bust circumference divided by 4, which is 9.75. I'll mark it here. Then my side seam allowance of 1.5 inches I'll replace. I'll come to the waist. My waist circumference divided by 4, starting from here, 7.75. I'll mark it here. The dart intake is 1.5. I'll replace with 1 inch. Then my side seam allowance of 1.5 inches I'll replace here. I'll come to the hip. The hip circumference divided by 4 is 10.25. I'll mark it here this way. Then my side seam allowance of 1.5 inches, I'll mark it here. So whatever thing I have here, I'm going to remove 1 inch away from that. So I'll mark it here this way. Which is here. I'm going to connect my lines. So I'm going to cut this out. This is all you need for this. Cut the waist area. So this is for the upper part, and this is for the down part. Hope this is what we have for the back, and this is what we have for the front. And here are my patterns. So I'm going to cut my patterns on my fabric, then I'll come back to show you.